Have you ever caught yourself agreeing to something you didn't want just to keep the peace? At first, it feels harmless. One small compromise, one quick yes. But slowly, you notice a pattern. Your choices, your voice, even your boundaries start to disappear. That's not love, it's manipulation. And it comes with a heavy price. Wasted years, drained bank accounts, and men who no longer recognize themselves in the mirror. The scary part. Most men never realize they're being controlled until the damage is already done. But here's the wake-up call. There are specific tactics women use again and again. In this video, I'll reveal 7 things women do to manipulate and control men, so you can spot the signs and protect yourself before it's too late. This video isn't just about spotting manipulation, it's about reclaiming control over your own life. That starts today. So hit subscribe, give this video a like, and leave a comment with one sentence. I refuse to be controlled. That's your commitment, your first step toward change. Because the moment you put it into words, you begin taking your power back. And right now, I'm going to walk you into the very first tactic women use to break men down. Recognizing it is the start of building yourself back up. Number 1, emotional blackmail. This one is silent, subtle, and deadly because it doesn't come with shouting or threats you can clearly see. It comes dressed up as guilt, fear, and obligation. A woman who knows how to pull these strings doesn't need to raise her voice. She just whispers the right words and suddenly you feel trapped inside your own mind. Think about it. Maybe you once shared a secret with her, something you never wanted the world to know. At first, it felt like trust. Later, that same secret becomes a loaded gun pointed at you. She doesn't have to say it outright. A simple phrase like, "After everything I've done for you," is enough to lock you in chains. And you obey. Not because you agree, but because you feel you owe her. That is emotional blackmail in action. Here's the psychology behind it. Men are conditioned to protect, to provide, to keep peace. When guilt gets mixed into love, most men will cave. They don't even notice they're giving up freedom, piece by piece. She's not forcing you physically. She's manipulating you emotionally. And the scariest part, you end up policing yourself. You start anticipating her reactions and bending before she even asks. But here's the truth you need to hear. Guilt is not love. Fear is not loyalty. And obligation is not respect. When a woman consistently uses those tactics, she's not building intimacy, she's building control. The longer you stay blind to it, the harder it becomes to reclaim your voice. What should you do? Slow down, step outside the emotion, and observe the logic. Ask yourself, am I making this choice because I truly believe it, or because I'm scared of how she'll react? That one question can expose the manipulation instantly. If you don't separate your decisions from emotional blackmail, you will keep paying with your freedom. Once you recognize it, you strip away its power. Emotional blackmail only works on men who ignore the signs. Don't be that man. Number 2, intimacy as a weapon. For centuries, men have whispered the same frustration, "She shuts me out until I give in." And here's the reality. Intimacy is powerful. When used with love, it builds connection. But when used as leverage, it becomes one of the sharpest tools of control. Picture this. You say something she doesn't like. Suddenly, the warmth is gone. No affection, no closeness, no touch. Days pass, maybe weeks. You feel the coldness in your own home, and it gnaws at you. She doesn't need to argue. She just withholds what she knows you crave until you bend to her will. That is not romance. That is strategy. Psychologically, this works because men are wired to associate closeness with acceptance. When that closeness is denied, many men feel panic, like they've failed as partners. And in that vulnerable state, they'll do anything. Apologize for things they didn't do, agree to demands they don't believe in, just to restore harmony. What they don't realize is that they're being trained, conditioned, rewarded when they submit, punished when they resist. Now let me be clear. Every couple argues. Every couple has moments where intimacy slows down. That's normal. But the difference is intention. If it happens repeatedly and always in exchange for compliance, you're not dealing with mood swings, you're dealing with manipulation. Real intimacy is never a bargaining chip. If closeness comes with a price tag, it's not love, it's leverage. So what can you do? First, don't panic. Recognize the pattern. Ask yourself, is intimacy disappearing only when I say no to her requests? If the answer is yes, you're not in a partnership, you're in a power struggle. Second, communicate directly. Say it out loud. I notice that when you're upset, you withhold intimacy. That doesn't solve the problem. It only builds resentment. If she cares about the relationship, she will reflect. If she doubles down, you have your answer. It's not miscommunication, it's control. Men lose themselves when they let their deepest needs be used against them. Don't hand over the keys to your self-worth in exchange for temporary comfort. Intimacy should connect you, not control you. Number 3. Excessive compliments. On the surface, compliments feel good. Every man likes to hear that he looks strong, capable, or attractive. That's natural. But when praise comes wrapped in layers too thick, too sudden, or too convenient, it stops being admiration. It becomes bait. Imagine this. You wear the same shirt you've worn 100 times, nothing special. But today, out of nowhere, she acts like you're the most handsome man alive. She pours on the praise, tells you you're incredible, that no one compares. For a second, your chest swells, but then, right on cue, comes the request. Could you do this one thing for me? Or, if you really love me, you'll say yes. That wasn't random kindness, that was stage setting. Psychologically, this tactic works because men crave recognition. Many men go through life starving for genuine appreciation. When it suddenly appears, especially from a woman they value, it lights up their brain. Compliments open the door, soften the defenses, and blur the lines between what feels right and what feels manipulated. And in that haze, you're far more likely to agree to something you normally wouldn't. Now, don't misunderstand. Real compliments are healthy. They build connection. They show care. But pay attention to the pattern. Are compliments consistent, balanced, and tied to reality? Or do they spike whenever she needs something from you? If praise only shows up when there's a hidden price tag, you're not being appreciated. You're being played. A compliment that comes with strings attached isn't a gift. It's a setup. What should you do? Step back. Ask yourself, does the praise match the moment? Or is it exaggerated and followed by a request? If it feels rehearsed, it probably is. And once you see it for what it is, the charm fades, and the manipulation loses its grip. Men, your value doesn't depend on anyone buttering you up. If the only time you're praised is when you're about to be used, recognize it as a tactic, not truth. Genuine admiration doesn't need a favor in return. Number 4. Prove your love. Few words are as dangerous in a relationship as these 4. If you love me. On the surface, it sounds innocent, even romantic. But when used as a tool, it becomes a trap designed to exploit your feelings. Here's how it plays out. She says, if you love me, you'll buy me that trip. Or, if you love me, you'll sell the car. Suddenly, love isn't measured by trust, respect, or commitment. It's measured by how much you can sacrifice on command. And the more you give in, the more she asks. It never ends. Psychologically, this tactic works because men want to be seen as providers and protectors. No man wants to feel like he's failing the woman he cares about. And when love is twisted into a constant test, you feel pressured to prove yourself over and over again. But here's the ugly truth. When love is always a test, you've already failed. Not because you didn't love her, but because you allowed the definition of love to be hijacked. A healthy relationship does not require endless proof. Love is shown in daily respect, consistent effort, and mutual care. Not in selling your soul to pass an exam you never signed up for. Ask yourself, does she ask for gestures of love occasionally, in playful ways? Or does she weaponize the phrase, "if you love me," every time she wants her way? If it's the latter, you're not proving love, you're funding manipulation. The moment love becomes a contract you must constantly pay into, it stops being love. It becomes control. So what should you do? Draw the line. Make it clear that your feelings are not for sale. If she genuinely loves you, she will never force you into choices that compromise your values or drain your resources. If every expression of love requires a receipt, it isn't intimacy, it's a transaction. Men, don't bankrupt yourself emotionally or financially to pass someone else's test. Real love doesn't demand proof on command. It respects, it supports, and it doesn't keep score. Number 5. Dramatic statements. Some women don't argue with logic, they argue with theater. Instead of calmly addressing the issue, they throw in exaggerated lines that leave you shaken and second-guessing yourself. You're the only man I've ever loved. You of all people should know this. Words that sound deep and emotional, but are really meant to corner you. Here's the trick. These statements aren't designed to clarify. They're designed to overwhelm. They inject drama into the situation so that the spotlight shifts from the real problem to your reaction. Suddenly you're not debating facts anymore. You're defending your character, your loyalty, your entire history with her. By the time the dust settles, the original issue has vanished, and she's gotten her way. From a psychological standpoint, this is manipulation through confusion. Human beings struggle to think critically when emotions run high. Dramatic statements are meant to push you into that fog. They make you doubt what you said, what you meant, even what you believe. And once you start questioning yourself, you become easier to control. Now, let's be clear. Every relationship has heated moments. But when the language consistently shifts from reason to melodrama, you're not dealing with passion, you're dealing with performance. A woman who thrives on theatrics isn't looking for resolution, she's looking for dominance. The way out is to ground yourself in reality. Don't get swept into defending against exaggerated claims. Instead, calmly bring the focus back to the facts. If she says, "You're the only man I've ever loved," don't get caught in the emotional pull. Say, "That may be true, but it doesn't answer the question we're dealing with." By refusing to play the lead role in her script, you strip the drama of its power. Dramatic statements are meant to confuse, distract, and control. But they only work if you step onto the stage. Refuse the script. Stay rooted in reality. That's how you keep your ground when the performance begins. Number 6. Just joking. This one feels harmless at first. She says something sharp, something that stings. You react, maybe you're hurt or even angry. And then she pulls the escape hatch. Relax, I was just joking. Suddenly you're the one who looks uptight while she hides behind the mask of humor. But let's be honest. Most of the time, those so-called jokes aren't jokes at all. They're hidden truths slipped through the back door. It's easier to say something critical, insulting, or revealing, and then dismiss it as humor than to take responsibility for the words. And if you call it out, she flips the script. You become too sensitive, while she gets to avoid accountability. Psychologically, this is a tactic called plausible deniability. She gets to test boundaries, express frustration, even manipulate your emotions, all while leaving herself an exit. It's a safe zone for her, but a trap for you. Because now you're left questioning, was she serious? Am I overreacting? Should I laugh it off? That confusion weakens you, and over time it chips away at your confidence. Here's the dangerous part. When repeated, just joking becomes a slow poison. You begin to doubt your instincts. Every sting gets brushed aside, every insult disguised as playfulness. And when you finally blow up, she points the finger and says, "See, you're the problem." What should you do? Stop letting the joke defense slide. If something hurts you, call it what it is. Say directly, "If that was a joke, it wasn't funny. It crossed a line." By refusing to laugh along, you expose the tactic for what it really is. Real humor builds connection. Fake humor is a weapon. And when laughter is used as camouflage for disrespect, it's not comedy, it's control. Men, trust your instincts. If the words cut, they weren't meant to make you laugh. Don't dismiss your own feelings just to avoid conflict. A relationship built on just joking at your expense isn't playful. It's manipulative. Number 7. Crocodile tears. Every man knows the power of a woman's tears. The moment they fall, the air shifts. Your chest tightens, your defenses collapse, and you feel like the villain. Many men would rather surrender than see a woman cry. And some women know that. They know tears can move mountains faster than reason ever could. Now, let's be real. Not all tears are manipulative. People cry from genuine pain, frustration, or heartbreak. But crocodile tears, that's different. Those are tears on demand, summoned not by real emotion, but by strategy. It's not about feeling, it's about winning. Psychologically, men are taught from childhood to protect women, to avoid being the cause of their suffering. So when she cries, your instinct is to retreat, to fix whatever made her upset, even if that means giving up your stance, your values, or your boundaries. Over time, this trains you to associate her tears with your failure, and you'll bend just to make the crying stop. That's how control is built. Here's the catch. Real tears and crocodile tears don't look the same. Genuine emotion leaves signs, tone of voice, body language, context that matches the situation. Crocodile tears appear suddenly, often at the exact moment she's losing an argument or not getting her way. They come fast, they stop just as fast, and they leave you confused. So how do you handle it? First, don't rush to fix the moment. Pause, look deeper. Ask yourself, does her reaction match the weight of the situation? Or is it exaggerated? If every disagreement ends with tears, chances are it's less about feelings and more about control. Second, don't be heartless, but don't be blind either. Acknowledge the emotion without surrendering your position. Say, "I understand you're upset, but this doesn't change the issue we need to resolve." By doing that, you show empathy without giving away your power. The truth is simple. Tears can be real or they can be performance. And if you can't tell the difference, you risk being led by emotion instead of reason. Men, compassion is a strength, but when it blinds you to manipulation, it becomes a weakness. Respect real pain, but learn to spot the act. Because once you do, crocodile tears lose their power, and so does the control behind them. By now, you've seen 7 of the most common tactics women use to manipulate and control men. But knowing the signs is only half the battle. The real question is, how do you protect yourself once you recognize them? Because awareness without action is just frustration in disguise. Let's break it down into 3 steps every man must master. First, think before you act. Manipulation thrives on impulse. She wants you reactive, emotional, and cornered. That's when you're easiest to control. Slow yourself down. When you feel guilt, panic, or pressure building, don't answer right away. Step back. Ask yourself, am I making this choice because it's right or because I'm scared to lose her approval? That pause is where you reclaim your freedom. Every time you delay a reaction, you weaken the hold of manipulation. Second, learn to say no. Too many men collapse under the weight of pleasing others. They confuse compliance with love, when in truth, constant agreement only breeds resentment. A strong no is not rejection, it's self-respect. If a woman truly values you, she will respect your boundaries. If she only values control, she will resist. Either way, your no reveals the truth. Practice it, use it, because every time you say no, you remind yourself and her that you are not a puppet. Third, decide whether to stay or leave. Not every relationship can be saved. Some forms of manipulation can be managed with communication, but others are too deeply rooted. If the patterns continue despite your clarity and boundaries, you must choose. Stay and accept the cost, or leave and reclaim your peace. Walking away is not weakness, it's the ultimate act of self-protection. A man who values his mental health, his freedom, and his dignity will not stay chained in emotional slavery. Here's the bottom line. You can't control how someone else acts, but you can always control how you respond. Think clearly, stand firm, and be willing to walk if respect is absent. These 3 steps are the shield that separates a manipulated man from a man of substance. You've just walked through 7 of the most common ways women manipulate men, and 3 solid strategies to defend yourself. Emotional blackmail, intimacy used as leverage, exaggerated compliments, endless tests of love, dramatic statements, jokes that cut, and crocodile tears. Each one is designed to chip away at your freedom until you find yourself living by someone else's script instead of your own. But here's the truth. Manipulation only works on the blind. The moment you see the pattern, you begin to take back control. The tactics lose their edge when you refuse to play along. And that's the shift every man must make, moving from reaction to awareness, from compliance to choice. Love is not supposed to feel like a battlefield where you constantly defend yourself. Real love is respect, honesty, and freedom. If you have to sacrifice your values, your peace, or your dignity just to keep someone happy, that's not love. It's control dressed in romance. And the longer you ignore it, the more it destroys you. But the opposite is also true. When you think before you act, when you learn to say no, when you choose to walk away from manipulation, you stop being a victim. You start being a man who leads his own life, who sets his own standards, who commands respect instead of begging for it. If you keep ignoring the signs, you don't just lose her, you lose yourself. And once a man loses himself, there's nothing left to give. So take this seriously. Look at your own relationship, see where these patterns show up, and decide today that you will not live under someone else's control. If this spoke to you, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Like this video, share it with another man who needs to hear it, and drop a comment below with your own experience. This is more than content. It's a movement for men to wake up, stand strong, and take back their lives. The choice is yours. Remain controlled or reclaim control.